Hey folks, Todd here. Today we're going to install the Gator EFX on this 2024 GMC Sierra. Now this is the same install for the Chevy Silverado. The tools we'll be using for this installation are a ratchet with a 1/2-inch socket and a pair of scissors. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing we want to do when we get started is install our bulkhead seal. Now here's our bulkhead. I've already gone ahead and patted this down with some rubbing alcohol just to get any kind of oily residues, any kind of residues off the surface and get a nice clean surface. If you got a painted surface, you don't have to dab it, you just kind of wipe it. But the texture on the spray and bed liner, you kind of want to dab that. What we're going to do, we're going to apply this seal right across the top edge of the bulkhead as far away from the cab as possible, but just before it starts to kind of round down. So we're going to follow this line right across here. What I like to do is pull off about 6 inches of tape protector, go all the way up against the bulkhead, and then just set it in place. And when we get to the other side, we're just going to cut it in place with a pair of scissors. And press it down. All right, now we can go ahead and start working on our rail. Okay, so here is our driver's side rail. Now we're going to have the drain cup that faces towards the cab. So we're going to go ahead and pull off this shipping block and get it out of the way. The way this is going to hang on top of the bed cap is just going to set up on top and then slide all the way forward towards the bulkhead. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to assemble the clamps onto here. Here's the clamp. Let me go ahead and pull this down and show you what we're going to do with these clamps. So each one of the clamps are going to come like this. What we're going to do is I like to pull the clamps apart. So we're just going to take the long bolt all the way out, set it to the side. Then we got 2 halves of the clamp. The side that has the long oval hole, we're going to hold on to that one, bring our rail back up, and then rotate it up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to decide where we want to have our clamps. So I'm going to have one right up towards the front, one right towards the rear, and one right in the center. If you notice on the inside of the rail, we've actually got a groove that's in there, and that channel is the same shape as the top of the clamp. So we're going to fit the clamp up inside that channel, push in, and snap it into place. Now I can slide that back and forth, but it's kind of trapped inside that channel. I'm going to do the same thing with my other 2 clamps. Set that in, snap it in place. Take this one, set that in, and snap that one in place. And now we can rotate it down. Once the rail's in place, I can take each one of my clamps and set them exactly where I want them. But before I attach the back side of the clamps, I want to show you the shim placement. All right, first I want to talk about the clamp location is going to be directly above the wheel well. Now, if you watch when I squeeze together right here with the bed cap and the bed cap cover, they kind of squeeze together. There's a little bit of a gap. So whenever you place the clamp there, whenever you clamp that down, it's going to deform down and that will pitch the rail down. So what we need to do is we need to install a shim. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take this shim, we're going to peel this back, make sure the shim goes all the way up in place, make sure it's high up in there, but we also want to make sure it stays. So I'm going to peel back the adhesive protector, slide it up in, and peel that away. There we go. Now when I squeeze here, it doesn't deform in. Now I do also want to point out, if you go to other places along the rail, some places need shims and some do not. So if you look up in this front location, it's actually the metal flange is right up against the bed cap. So we're going to be placing our clamp here. I don't need a shim. This one I've already got the shim. This is where we're going to put our center clamp. And at the rear, where the very rear of this location, the sheet metal is right up against the bed cap. So we're going to be putting our clamp right here. If I were to go too far forward, then I would need to have a shim. So we're going to go to this location here, and let's go ahead and grab a rail. All right, now here is our rail. Now before it gets all the way up against here and gets a little tight, I'm gonna go ahead and attach our drain tube. So that's gonna go right up into the drain cup, just like so. And then we'll route that after we get the rail attached. So we're gonna go ahead and bring it down, bring it all the way forward up against the bulkhead. And now we're gonna go ahead and get the other half of the clamp, slide it up in place, hold those together, and take our bolt and run it through. Now once I've got it finger tight, I'm gonna go ahead and grab a 1/2-inch wrench or ratchet and go ahead and tighten that down. We're gonna tighten that to 10 foot-pounds. As you're tightening, make sure you bear down and in. All right, let's go ahead and move up to the front clamp. We're doing the same thing. We're gonna make sure that behind we are attaching to a part of the rail where we don't need the shim. Set the clamp in place. Got it finger tight. Tighten it down with a 1/2-inch to 10 foot-pounds. And the last clamp the exact same way. Make sure that we can feel where that clamp needs to be. Adjust the clamp placement if necessary. All right, now that I've got it hand tight, what I like to do is kind of push down on the rail a little bit closer to the tailgate area and pull in there and go ahead and tighten it down here. All right, now let's go ahead and move up to the drain. On your Chevy and GMC trucks, there's a couple of places where you can route this without having to worry about drilling any kind of holes. Right here, there's a hole in the side. This actually had a little rubber plug that was in there that's been pulled out. So this drain tube is gonna get routed up into here. So what I'm gonna do is just determine how much drain tube that I wanna have in there. Cut that off. And then route that just like so. We're gonna repeat the same process for the rail on the opposite side. All right, so this is the way the cover is gonna come out of the box. Now I've got it flipped upside down, so this is the bottom side of the cover. This side over here, you'll notice we've got a little rubber flap. That is our bulkhead seal. It's gonna lay over top of a bulkhead right behind the cab. In this portion right here, these two channels, we've got 2 more channels on the opposite side. This is where we're going to attach our cover retaining clamps. So let me show you what those look like. That's this right here. Now, to get that in there, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna loosen up the clamp. So just basically spin that knob. Once that's loose like that, I can push up. Now this is a carriage bolt that's got a square head on there. That square head's gonna be captured inside that channel so that the bolt can't spin. Also, I wanna point out there's a little notch that's on here that's going to ride inside that channel as well to kind of help keep that straight. So I'm gonna go ahead and slide it in place. Make sure the notch side is to the inside of the cover and the jaw side is to the outside of the cover because it's gonna attach to the rail here. And also I've got it pushed back so that whenever it sits on top of the rail, the jaw doesn't interfere. And I'm just gonna kind of snug it down, not tightening it down, I just wanna keep it from moving around until we set it on top of the rail. We'll do the same thing on this one. Just loosen up cover retaining clamp. Slide it in place. All right, we're gonna repeat the same process on the opposite side and then we can go ahead and put the cover on top of the rails. We're gonna bring it up to where the rubber flap goes over top of the bulkhead seal. We're gonna set that down in place. Once it's over top of the seal, make sure it's all the way forward. We're also gonna make sure it's centered side to side. Let's take a look here. All right, once we've got it centered, we're gonna go ahead and start folding the panels back one at a time and center them as we go. All right, now as we fold it back, you might hear it latch. That's perfect because that's what we want it to do. Make sure it stays centered and keep going to the very back. And now I'm going to go ahead and check for engagement of the tailgate. What I'm going to do that is close the tailgate. I'm gonna lift the cover up first just in case if it's a good location. I don't want the tailgate to push the cover out of the way. So, bring it back just a hair. All right, that's perfect. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and fold each panel back up towards the front. Be very careful not to shift it around so that way we can get up underneath and fasten it from the bottom. Okay, so now we're underneath the truck bed cover on the driver's side, just behind the cab of the truck. So here's our cover retaining clamp. I'm gonna go ahead and loosen that up now so that we can attach it to the rail. So I'm gonna lower it down, and that way we can slide it over. Now, keep in mind, you wanna make sure that notch stays inside the channel. And then as it slides over, you're gonna see there's a groove in the jaw. That groove needs to trap the rail just like so. Then once that's in place, just go ahead and spin that up. Get it nice and snug. Don't need to over tighten it. Just need to get it to where it's nice and snug. Go back to the one right next to the cab. Do the exact same thing. Once that's in place, snug it down. And repeat the exact same process on the opposite side. Well, it's just that simple, and that concludes the installation.